It is a dreary day in southern Appalachia. We've got heavy rain outside, had it overnight, forecasted to be all day today, even tomorrow. So a very dreary day. I've got a real busy day planned, a lot of things I need to do, but I also need to go ahead and think about supper because Corey and Austin are going to eat with us tonight. So today I'm going to make some things that are kind of hands-off. I can just get them started and then I can go about my day and do the things I need to do and then finish it all up together. So the things I'm going to make is I'm going to make a cube steak. I'm going to make cube steak. I've got my crock pot. I've got a video on this, so maybe you've seen it, but if not, I'll tell you how I make it and tell you some little things about it. It is in mine and Jim's cookbooks. If you have the cookbook, I'll try to remember to tell you what page it is. I'm also going to make some homemade bread. I have my bread machine out over here, so that's how I'm going to do it, and that'll be easy. It'll do it all for me after I put the stuff in, and I'll share that recipe with you. It's one that Miss Cindy kind of developed and the one that we usually use. I'm also going to make some rice. I'll save that to the very end because I'm just going to do it in the InstaPot, so that'll be easy. We can put the cube steak over top of the rice. It'll be really good, really satisfying meal. I've got some green beans out. Of course, I'm gonna do green beans. Those are most always part of our suppers. And I think I'm going to cut up one of my butternut squash, or maybe two of them, and mix some onions with them and just saute them on top of the stove. And that'll be good. And then I was thinking about a dessert. So I really haven't decided on that. I've got peaches in the freezer. I could get some peaches out and cook those and make a peach cobbler. We all like that, so that'd be really pretty easy to do. I might do that. But then I was also thinking about a cake that I could do again while I'm in the kitchen this morning, and then it would already be done and I wouldn't have to worry about it. I was thinking about a chess cake, but I don't have any cream cheese. I already looked, so I won't be able to do that. So I'll still have to study on that for a little bit. Maybe a cinnamon cake. I don't know. I'll have to keep thinking about that. But first of all, for the cube steak, I've got my cube steak here, and I've got some flour with just simple salt and pepper. You could use whatever seasonings you'd like to use. And when I did the video, a lot of people ask me, I still get questions, what is cube steak? What does that even mean? What is that? So cube steak, and I'm buying mine from the grocery store. This is beef cube steak. You can get pork. We cube some of the deer meat that Matt harvests, so we have cubed deer meat. We had some last night actually for supper, or yesterday for breakfast. I think Matt made it for breakfast. That's what we had. Anyway, it's really good. He just said he needed some meat, so he fried up some deer meat, cubed deer meat, and it was good. I think we ate it with apples and cheese. Made a really good breakfast. Anyway, so cubed meat though means, what that means is it's a piece of meat. Usually if you buy it in the grocery store, it's going to be like, I'm sure they're using a cheaper cut of meat. You know, it's not T-bone steak or anything like that. But they run it through a machine, so it actually puts all these little, it tenderizes it, is what it's doing. But it kind of leaves, I guess you could say, little cube shapes on it. And maybe that's why they call it cube steak. I'm not sure. I know that Matt and Papa Tony, the piece of equipment they use to do their deer meat, they call it the cuber. So anyway, that's where the name comes from, and that's what it is. So in my area of Appalachia, and I'm sure throughout the United States, I don't know about in other countries, cubed meat is readily available in all grocery stores. If you think about beef or pork, not the venison, but the beef or the pork, both are readily available. And I don't really buy cubed pork ever, but I do use the cube steak. And this is a recipe, I'll share it with you, that one of my friends taught me many years ago. And after I put up the video, one of the first questions, other than the main question, other than what is cube steak, what are you even talking about, was why do you use chicken stock? Why would you use chicken stock? Why would you not use beef stock in the recipe that I'm going to share with you? And that's a great question. I'm sure beef stock would be wonderful. I'm sure it would be great too. But my friend who taught me how to make it, she used chicken stock, so that's just what I've always used. And for me, I generally would have chicken stock on hand, like in my freezer when we do chickens, or thinking about turkey, which I think turkey broth and chicken broth is very similar. At Thanksgiving and Christmas, we make broth from all that and put it, in little increments in the freezer. So I would more often have chicken broth. Now, if you want to use beef broth, I think it'd be fantastic. I think it would still be really, really good. But the reason I use chicken broth is that's how I learned how to make it. I will link to that other video and also to the recipe on the blind pig and the acorn, but I'll go ahead and read you this from the cookbook. Tender cube steak, flour, seasonings, olive oil or whatever you prefer, and chicken stock. That's all you need. So I'm gonna dredge my cube steak here. I've got my flour and like I said, I just use salt and pepper. You could use whatever you wanted to. Actually, in the cookbook, I say garlic powder too, so maybe I'll get some garlic powder or maybe I won't. Heat olive oil or whatever oil you prefer in a frying pan. Bring to medium heat. Place floured and seasoned cube steak in hot pan and brown each side. You're not really trying to cook it, you're just trying to brown it a little. And then you put it in the crock pot after you've browned it. Now in those drippings that are left in your pan, you're going to add a tablespoon or two of flour, and if you've got some left over from dredging, that's a good tip to use that, and that way you don't have to waste any of the other. You cook it and stir that flour around just like you were trying to make gravy, and then you're going to add your chicken stock to that, like if you were making gravy with the chicken stock or beef stock. I'm sure water would even be fine. And then you're going to cook that for a few minutes just to kind of stir it all together, and then pour it over your meat that's in your crock pot, and then you're going to cook it on low until it's done. I usually do it several hours. And it does get just falling apart tender. Now, if you want more of a bite to yours, or you want some texture left, you might want to not cook it as long. And during that video, I had a lot of people tell me they do the exact same thing, except they just never move it from the stove. They leave it in their pan on the stove and turn the temperature down really low and let it cook right there, and don't even fool with putting it in the crock pot. And I forgot to say what page that was, didn't I? I'm trying to do better. Someone asked me if I would do that. Of course, I'm just going to have to look it back up, I guess. Go back to the back. It's got the cookbook has a handy index, so that makes things easier even for me, because of course I don't remember all the pages. So it is page 71. Okay, now I'm ready. Pour this into the crock pot, turn it on low, and I'll be ready to move on to the next thing. Next thing I'm going to do is get my bread started, so that can be going. That's a wonderful thing about bread machines, if you've never used one, is that you put all the ingredients in there and it does all the work for you, and even bakes your bread. I'd never used a bread machine. I don't even know if I knew they really existed, but many years ago, Miss Cindy told me about them. She found out about them, and she bought this one. She would buy them at yard sales and thrift stores and things like that, and tried them, and finally found one she liked, and then she kept playing around with the bread recipe. Of course, even the bread machine comes with a little book that has all kinds of recipes in it, and you can find them in cookbooks and different things. There's whole cookbooks that are for bread machines. Anyway, she kept playing around with it till she found a bread that she liked. Of course, she shared the recipe with us, and it's the only one that we ever make in the bread machine. And she bought me the bread machine too. She found it. Once she liked hers, then she kept an eye out at thrift stores and yard sales and things like that and found them. Now this one it's old because I've had it a long time, many years, but it's a Panasonic SD YD 205 is the little thing that's on it, so that's what kind it is. I never even researched it or thought anything about it. I just did what Miss Cindy told me to do, and that's what I'm still doing today. But her bread recipe is 3 cups of flour, and that's like all-purpose or bread flour. It doesn't have any kind of leavening, not self-rising. And I used to, when I first started making it, and Miss Cindy told me about it, I most often use bread flour. Today, I just use what I have, which is usually all-purpose flour, but 3 cups of flour. You need 1/2 cup of whole wheat flour, 1 1/2 cup water, a heaping tablespoon of gluten. Now again, that was when she very first started making it, and I guess she bought me some gluten. You can do that or whatever, but me and her both quickly realized we didn't need it. So I've not used gluten in literal years, but if you, 10 years probably, but if you have it on hand and wanted to use it, you could. 2 heaping tablespoons of peach or apple jelly. I'll explain that part in a minute. 2 tablespoons of butter. 1/2 cup quick cook oats, just the oatmeal like that cooks in a minute. 2 teaspoons of salt, and 1 1/2 teaspoons of yeast. Now this is just where I've wrote it down while she was telling me, so all the dry ingredients are not together, like recipes usually are. I have it glued inside one of my cookbooks that I use, over the years. My favorite recipes, I glued them in a notebook like this. I have one for, this one says desserts, breads, muffins, and donuts. I don't really make donuts, but I must have some recipes in here somewhere for them. And then my other one is more like main dishes and vegetables and things like that. Anyway, Miss Cindy was she tried not to eat much sugar, and when she did eat sugar, she liked to use for all kinds of things. She would use jelly. Now this likely come about because a single person living alone, and you have a big jar of jelly. You're not, unless you just eat jelly every day, it's not likely that you're going to eat it all really quickly. So she would use jelly in place of sugar in lots of different ways. She might bake with it like this. She also loved to use it as a sweetener in her like salad dressings that she made. She used jelly in sauces, all those kind of things. So she come up with this was a way to use it. So that's why the 2 tablespoons, heaping tablespoons of peach or apple. And the reason you say peach or apple is because they're kind of a clear color, they're lighter color, so they're not going to make your bread some funny color. Now many times we have used blackberry. It just gives your bread kind of a purplish tint, a grayer tint. It still tastes exactly the same, it's just that it doesn't look the same, is all that is. Now if you didn't want to use the jelly, you just use 2 tablespoons of sugar. Just use that. What I like to do, I do use the jelly, I like to look in my refrigerator and see if there's a jar that's like, usually we have 3 or 4 jars in our refrigerator. We might have a blackberry, a peach, an apple, maybe a strawberry, whatever kind, that we all different ones of us like or that we wanted on that day. So I look and see if I can find one that's, kind of been shoved to the back but needs to be used up. So that's what this is. And this is peach today. But again, we've sometimes used blackberry. It just makes your bread have a purple hue. Now the bread machine, if you've never used one, comes with these metal like pans that sit down inside it. They have like a paddle in the bottom that turn, that actually you can hear it once it starts. You'll hear it kneading itself and mixing itself up. But when you put all the ingredients in there, you don't really have to worry about that. You just have to put them all in there. I probably can't. I'm thinking, can I really pour the flour in there? Probably not. Probably not without making a mess. So I'll get most of it in there. So I'm going to add I've already measured everything. Flour. Maybe I can manage the rest of it without spilling it. Go ahead and put my oatmeal and my whole wheat flour. Put my butter in there. I guess I'll go ahead with the jelly and hope that I can use up. I'm going to use up whether that's too much or not. I'm going to use it all. So I can wash this little jar and put it up for next year. There's that. Here's my salt. And then my water. So now all machines are different, but the way mine works is, now I'm going to put this in there, and then on the top is a little, it'd be easier for me just to show you, so I'll do that. Okay, on the top of my bread machine, there's this little thing you open, and that's where you put the yeast. So I'll go ahead and put my yeast in there and shut it. Got some of it static electricity wanting to stick. Shut it up. And then it's time for me to turn it on. And I just use a basic recipe, just the basic. You can see how warm this has made a lot of bread for us over the years, and it was used when we got it too. Made a lot of bread for someone else probably. Anyway, we use the basic bread as far as the little menu that you get. We just use the basic. There is a rapid one, and sometimes if I'm in a real hurry, I might use that. But today I've got all day long, so it's already, I think, let's see, already on basic, and then I'm just going to start it, and it takes 4 hours. 4 hours to make. If you do the rapid one, you can do, and it takes 3 hours. You get an extra hour if you're in a hurry, but since I've got plenty of time, I'm just going to let it go for 4 hours, and then it'll be ready. Managed to get a lot done. Been busy. My bread's still cooking. It's almost about to get close to being done. I think it's got about 30 or 40 more minutes. The meat is still in the crock pot doing good. And I decided I would make us a cinnamon cake, cinnamon swirl cake. Some people call it like a honey bun cake. Really easy. Starts with the base of a cake mix, and then you add some other stuff to it. So really simple and easy to whip together. And you kind of put the topping on it as it bakes, so then there's nothing even to ice. So I've got it mixed up, and I have a video about this cake, so I will link to it so you can go and see how simple it is. I bet you've had it before, even if it was called something different, but it's super easy to whip up. So I'm just putting the batter in the dish here. It's got sour cream and vanilla, some other stuff. Get it in there. And then once you do that, eggs, got eggs of course. It's just as simple as sprinkling the cinnamon topping on the top of it, swirling it in a little bit, and then baking it. I've got my oven at 325, and it goes about 30 minutes, about 35 to 40 minutes. I'm looking over there at my directions, my recipe, but it really depends on your oven and even the kind of pan you use. So one of those things you just have to keep an eye on it the first time you make it. I'm going to take a case knife and just swirl it a little bit. Usually go one way and then the other or something like that. It really don't matter. Just let some of that topping get down inside the actual cake. I'm going to put this in. I'll run to the post office, do a couple of other things, and then I'll be able to finish the rest of the supper up before Austin gets here. I got my cake out of the oven. It's been cooling here just a few minutes, and I forgot the last step. I said the topping that I put on it made its icing. Well, it does, and it would be really good if you ate it just like that. But you're supposed to put powdered sugar mixed with milk over the top, so that takes it up even another notch. So I've got that mixed up, and I'm just going to drizzle it on top. I was thinking, I know something's missing when I got it out, and thought, well, that's not what I remember it looking like. And then I'm like, well, you crazy person, you're supposed to do one more step. You're supposed to just drizzle it, but I'm not doing a good job of drizzling it, so I'm just gonna gently try to put some in the places I missed. Maybe that'll be good though. Anybody that really likes a lot of frosting can get that end over there. Anyway, I forgot this step, but as you can see, it don't take but a minute to do it. And now it really is finished. I think I've got pretty much everything ready except the rice. I've backed out. I've got my butternut squash here, but I'm tired and I'm just not even going to make it. We'll have plenty without it. We've got the green beans, we've got the meat, and we've got the rice, got the bread, and of course we'll have some delicious cake for dessert. I'll get out a jar of pickled beets or something like that, so we'll add that, and I'm just not going to, I'm too tired to fool with the butternut today. But that's the great thing about the winter squash. It'll wait on me for another day. Now for my InstaPot rice, the way I do it, everybody, there's lots of different recipes. You should definitely go look at them. but most of them are kind of an equal ratio to rice to water. I like for my rice to be a little bit more moist than that. Personal preference is all. So I've got a cup of rice, I've got a little pat of butter, some salt, and I've got a cup of water, but then I probably put an extra 1/4 of a cup in there. Again, something you need to play around with. I'm going to put it in the InstaPot and pressure it for 3 minutes, and then I'm going to let it like natural release by itself, and then it'll be ready to go once I get everything else situated. Supper was delicious. Now we're ready for some cake. Matt's already got him some. He just couldn't wait. I was like, I was gonna cut it and bring it to you, but he was hungry. Frosting that big piece there. Okay.
Oh, that's a lot.
Oh,
It's okay. No, that's
what
okay.
you wanted. I didn't know. Delicious meal. Good meal.
Very good meal.
Good cake.
I don't even have my cake.
Oh, Katie ain't had her cake. Hey, you're slow. We've all eaten.
I'm really slow.
You are slow. Corey's eating the crumbs here. She's gonna eat some more. Whoops. Ooh, that was good. Good catch. Yeah.
Good catch, Jim.
We hope you enjoyed coming along with me as I cook supper for everyone. We really love to eat together as a family. If you've not got a book or not seen the cookbook of mine and Jim's with that recipe for the cube steak in it, I'll put that link in the description below. We're always glad when you stop by to help us celebrate Appalachia.
Caked out. Oh, Corey's gonna take the entire cake.
Take that home with you.
Yeah. All right, Katie, come back and get a picture, and then we'll be done. We'll probably snip out one, but just in case somebody had their eyes closed.
Everybody quit looking at my cake.
No, put your hat back on. All right.